Okay, we are rolling. Hi, my name is Nick Schleep of Tactically Custom. With these series of videos that I'll be doing, we'll be doing what I'm calling ACRs, or after class reviews. I have with me Eric and Luke from MTAC, a class I recently took probably about a week or two ago now. Kind of talk about their Tier 1 program, and more specifically interior conflict, which is the class I took. So go ahead, guys, take it away, kind of who you are, and what MTAC is all about.
I'm Eric McBride. I own Midwest Threat Assessment Centers, or MTAC, better known as. I'm a U.S. Navy vet, served during Desert Storm, and currently still doing law enforcement and with a SWAT background. In 2015, I left full-time service and opened up MTAC, which is a shoot house, 360-degree firearms training facility. And yeah, that's about it. Go ahead, Luke.
Yeah, I'm Master Sergeant retired Luke Vilsmeyer. I spent 21 years in the United States Army. Became a Green Beret back in 2008. Did that all the way up until about July 2019. And retired recently, November 2020. And I'm here providing additional training and training opportunities here at MTAC and building new programs.
So I got hooked up with MTAC from another training company that rented out your facility back in December. And Eric, you told us about this Tier 1 program coming out, and Luke, being the instructor for it. Kind of take me through what is Tier 1, kind of the overall concept of it that you guys are doing over at MTAC.
Well, to get you to Tier 1, I'll tell you a little bit about what I based MTAC off of. Was an opportunity for armed civilians and armed professionals to have a place to get their tactics opposed. And when we think about doing that, we think about two missions for the armed citizen, if you will, and that's home protection or personal protection. And that's pretty much what we've been concentrating on for the first 5 years. Until recently, and recently we've realized that there's a new mission for business owners and people that live in larger areas, that there's the possibility of getting protests in their area, even against their own business, rioting, if you will. And so there's an elevated amount of training that needs to be brought to those people. And when Luke came on board, he had this vision, being able to do some training very similar to what he has done in the past. And of course, we thought of military and law enforcement. But as things have developed in the last few months here in the United States, we also thought, open enrollment may be a good way to go about this also, and include those that want to get trained like this. Denying people the opportunity to learn how to move through a structure safely is just not the right thing to do right now. People need to be able to defend themselves, exit a large building or even a factory, and be able to do it tactically and safely. And so that was kind of the spur of the Tier 1. Of course, our timing's a little bit weird because it is winter and not everybody wants to go outside and do the proper training to spun up on their weapons handling skills. But the Tier 1 encompasses, pistols, rifles, shotguns, leadership, planning, a whole spectrum, if you will, to get somebody operationally ready for whatever may come at them.
The gist of that is, as you said, the mission is changing with their recent events, and this is just going to give us the capabilities to protect ourselves, defend ourselves as we need to, because everything's just kind of, in the lack of a better way, that just it up.
Yeah, and it's not fair to restrict anybody's training, as far as, only doing personal protection right now, because what does that mean to you may mean something different to someone else. And,
sure,
as a business owner that has a firearms business, that may be something that could be targeted in the future. And That's not only the only possibility. Luke's been approached by neighborhood suburban people that live in these neighborhoods and say, hey, if we need to protect our neighborhood and go shoulder to shoulder, how do we do that? Well, that's not something that we train in personal protection. That's not something we train in home defense. That's a whole new skill set, and that's what Tier 1's really about.
Yeah, and it kind of opened my eyes doing this force on force training even. I've shot weapons, I've shot guns, in the years past, and you're always at that flat range as we now call it, right? Or as I call it now, the flat range. And they don't let you draw from the holster or do anything. You're literally just aiming at paper target, trying to hit groups, and oh, great, I did a great job. And then to get thrust into an environment like this where somebody is acting back at you, you don't, all different scenarios, things of that nature, you kind of learn very quickly, and it's very humbling as I found it, that, oh, I don't have the training to do this. And that's where I kind of myself have really dug down and planned this whole year. I'm doing a ton of force on force is my plan to really hone my skills to get better at it and just continue that going forward. Luke, you kind of threw us into the ring of fire, if you will, or trial by fire for interior conflict one. Why don't you, before we kind of get into a little bit, and I don't want to give too much away as others will take the class as well. What was with your military background, that's kind of where this interior conflict came from, correct? Kind of the processes of doing the CQB and things of that nature, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of talk to me a little bit more about the overall interior conflict, somebody who's going to take interior conflict, what they can expect to come out of it. What are you going to teach them? What are they learning? That sort of thing.
Well, I mean, they're going to learn a litany of things, but first and foremost, they're not just going to learn tactics, techniques, and how to do certain things. They're also going to learn a great deal about themselves. This course is going to show the inside leader that you have inside yourself without even having to try. I mean, it's going to force you into these situations. It's going to force decision making. Their pressure is going to be applied throughout the entire course. It's a progressive, from the beginning, as you saw, it's hit the ground running, right? Real fast, aggressive, shock and awe approach. And then, okay, now let's focus on the fine motor skills. Let's build these skill sets, work on this, and then test it at the end as well in a different scenario. So throughout the entire course, everything will be built from one day to the next to progress on what you learned on the previous iteration that you did. It's like the progression from 1 man to 2 man to 3 man to 4 man to now, guess what we really harp on? Now we really harp on weapons handling, carry positions, transitions, reloads, all of these things that kind of can go by the wayside if you're focused too much on just learning techniques. So I've gotten some feedback from students regarding hey, there wasn't really a skills and drills. Well, that's all built into the course, and that's all going to come out as the course progresses. Once we've learned a baseline set of skills, we're going to expand on it in ways that people just don't even realize it's going to happen. I mean, without going into detail and spilling too much about the course, it's kind of hard to explain. But all of those things are going to come into play.
Yeah, we did. That first day, my mind was kind of just mental overload. And then day 2 was that, I'll call it awakening or epiphany, that it was now it's all making more sense. That building block, as you talked about, that first day, you kind of get humbled. And
Yep.
then as you're working through and building on that, it really, everything starts to make sense and fit in, and I'm the type of person, it's I just need all that information up front. So I'm out of my comfort zone, but I think people learn best that way. You have to get out of that comfort zone. I'll quickly say that last iteration, Joel and I were we're gaming it too much. And that's the one thing that everybody says in Force on Force, never game anything, because it's not real life, right? And Eric, you were sitting by the computer and I'm sitting there like, all right, we have this information, that information, let's game it. And of course it never worked the way we thought it would work, and that's one thing that I want to stress to everybody. When you're doing this Force on Force stuff, don't game it, just have an open mind and just go with the flow, if you will.
A lot of things that are affected because people don't have context. You don't get to go on a live raid, when you leave here, like such as SWAT does, or even in the military units. They're actually expressing all of that training in a live hit, if you will, or a mission and operation. And so you lose context. So it is easier to game it because you don't have context. You don't have a situation in your mind that you can think, okay, this happened on this one mission, so I need to try to apply that into this next learning sequence. So that's kind of a difficult thing when you're coming from, no operational situation, because you don't have that context to build on. And so that's something that can be a little overwhelming and hard to not game.
But yeah, it's just, and then I was thinking about it after our run. In real life, I wouldn't know all that stuff. So you gotta kind of just immerse yourself in it and just allow things to happen. When we were in class, we had a range of people that were in the class. I've been defensively shooting or taking training classes pretty heavily the past year. I believe we had one student that was pretty new to shooting even an AR at that point. As far as interior conflict, what type of person, student, even their setup kind of skill level, is there a certain skill level they should be at? I know, Luke, you said we kind of went over carry positions and things of that nature as well. And I mean, we're in a pretty safe environment overall to learn that. Kind of touch on that, is there, as well as even their setup, their AR setup.
Yeah, so I mean, you're cutting out a little bit, and I'm not sure I caught all of it. But as far as like kit setup, experience, things like that, what you have is what you have, and I encourage people to train with it initially, learn that they don't have everything they need, and then build up throughout the course, and finally get to it's not an overnight course. It's not a 2-day course. Like this has got some time to it. I mean, people will put some time into this course, and it affords them the opportunity to say, hey, this guy was rocking this setup. It looked like it worked. I'm going to try something similar. Or, hey, we have several instructors here with SWAT backgrounds, my background from the military, all of that we can, advise on, hey, this type of stuff worked for me. As far as skill levels coming into the course, I invite anyone who's got a high level of confidence in their ability to operate whatever weapon systems they currently have. Now, that's going to vary from person to person. Someone's going to say, oh, I'm extremely confident with my gun. They're going to get out there and they're going to hold the damn thing backwards. Hey, we'll work with that. We'll get them straightened out. But the higher level you come in at, the easier it'll be to adapt. But the class will not progress without everyone being at the same spot by the end of the class going into the following day.
I think that's a general, that's Luke being nice. I mean, we definitely think that people, personally, Eric speaking, and for the business, we would like to see people have the weapons handling skills, their carry positions, had, some tactical rifle experience, some good rifle courses in, some good pistol courses in, transitions from one weapon system to the other. And we put that out there as our prereqs. And you saw the menagerie of different skill sets in here, and you're always going to get that. That's just the nature of the beast here. And I think our assistant instructors did a very good job working with people as they would make their run, pull them off to the side. Hey, muzzle control or carry position, and they were being able to inject that throughout the training. And like I was saying before, and I think we had some issues cutting out, that it's ideal for us to run inside the tier 1 our rifle and pistol courses first. People take those first. So when we do get them into interior conflict, we're not working on that kind of thing as much. However, we came to us in November. It's winter time, so interior conflict, here we come.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. I even looking at different training schedules and stuff that's out there, and it seems that winter a lot of things start to die down. It's colder and things of that nature. So this interior type work, the shoot house type work, I mean, this is time to really pour it on. One of the things that I noticed too is setup on the rifle. I had mine set up to how I thought I would like it, and running the rifle there, where you guys give us the UTM or the bolt carrier group to shoot the UTM and use our rifles, I thought was great, and beneficial. And one of the things that I learned, and Luke, I think you saw it, and I'm gonna kind of show it to the camera here. So yes, it is a completely safe, clear weapon, as the camera can catch that. Nothing in there, everything is good. But I have my D-ball on the top here because I'm gonna get into night vision work, but then I had the rain on the side here. And as I was clearing the door, my rain literally ran right into the jamb of the door and kind of pushed me back as I was trying to clear a corner. So that's one thing that I learned very quickly here. I'm going to be moving this to the other side because I am right-hand dominant. So that was one of those things. I'm not I'm not a big fan yet of transitions. So it didn't give me the room that I needed to clear that frame. So that was a nice little reminder of always use the equipment you plan on using and try it out. So as far as basic equipment for a rifle when somebody is getting into the CQB, I mean, what do you obviously a sight, does it matter? Should it be a red dot? Should there be lights? The luminaire, like what's kind of what you would call a basic setup? What would be good to have for doing this course?
For this
doing
course,
any CQB course?
Yeah. So lights, obviously. Laser if you got it. The vertical post on the front of your gun, if you it depends on how you like to hold your weapon. They've got these angled grips, they've got these vertical grips, they've got all this stuff. At the end of the day, you shouldn't be relying on that grip to aim your weapon, right? That's a support mechanism. It's you don't want your whole hand on a vertical grip because then you're left to right all over the place and things like that. With me, the way I've always operated, and everyone's got their own take on this stuff, and everyone thinks, the sexier their gun looks, the better they're going to be in the house, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you saw my kit when I was actually operating, right? We love that term. That gets thrown around everywhere. When I was actually active duty and I was doing this stuff for real, my kit and my gun was as slim as friggin' possible. I didn't want a lot of stuff on my gun. I didn't want a lot of stuff on my kit. I carried what I needed and I knew I would need, and then we had supplementary bags if we had to get into those types of situations. But keep it simple, keep it functional, make sure you can operate day or night and not have to interchange parts constantly. And once you find the fit where you can get through a door, get down a hallway, stack up with a bunch of other people and not get hung up on their equipment with the stuff on your gun, you're on the right track. That's just the simpler, the better.
And I think, a 10.5 inch for me, 12.5, people will argue that all day, but for me, it was 10.5 inch, a suppressor, so that we can still communicate during firefight, a light and a red dot, inside of a house, on my assault rifle. And I know that people are like, assault rifle? No, I was an assaulter on the team, so it was an assault rifle, right? So, but that's kind of where I would go with it. I wanted a shorter package, still suppressed, which still put it, 7 inch, 6 inch suppressor, so you're still out past the 16. And it's a good
Yeah.
standoff. You just have to work it. Like if you keep that light where it's at, that rain where it's at, eventually working through IC2 and IC3, it's not even going to be an issue. You'll have that dialed in. But yeah, getting it set up in the beginning to make sure it's in the optimal place, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you can train about anything though, and so gun weight really comes in to effect, especially on having to hold hallways. And I know a lot of people were saying they were sore by day 2 because you had 8-10 hours of holding your rifle, and most people haven't experienced that.
No, because even when I'm doing the defensive training, I mean, there's times between iterations, you're slinging it up, you're not holding it there. I mean, we were holding that rifle. Luke didn't hold back. I mean, we were, it's 2 days, but you were learning the whole time. There wasn't really any just sit and hang out. I mean, very minimal rest time, if you will, which I like, because you have, you're having to cram a lot of knowledge into 2 days, and and I'm one, I can take a ton of that. And then we were doing some of those up down drills, and this was the first full class that I had. This is a newer rifle setup for me, and I had my D-ball on there, and my shoulder was pretty sore right after the up down drills, all that weight out front. So when you talk about that weight and just getting used to it, it's like, man, I have to do way more of these to get stronger at this. So and then having the kit, we talked the bees, and when you get shot with the UTM round, having the kit, that was actually a very beneficial thing for me. I mean, not just even for real life and having a plate carrier and plates, but just getting UTM rounds at me. And I have plenty of marks on my arms and my side and hips where I didn't have it, where, it's amazing your adrenaline as you're doing this force on force stuff, to where a lot of people are afraid of the bees or the rounds. And, when you're in it, I felt them, but you never really felt them. They weren't painful where you're having to, go cry in a corner type of thing, or, it's a lot better than, I'm sure, getting shot by a real round. So it really allows you to have a safe training environment, so not to do that next time, type of thing, and learn from that. There you are.
Hey, we said you're upstairs. Like, get the hell off the computer.
No,
that was on our end. Our Comcast, cable, because we're in the big city. Yeah, it died.
Oh, okay. No, and I think I figured on my end, my wife was streaming a video, so her computer doesn't go to sleep for work. So I'm like, yeah, I kind of need the internet myself too. So.
Oh wow! Wow, your connection's already better. Look,
it is. It's actually working. What do you know?
So we're, and I don't know when things cut off, but I was talking about having the plate carry, the bees, getting shot with UTM, much better than getting shot by a regular bullet, for sure. But that adrenaline is kicking in so much as you're doing this, it's really not painful as I would describe it. You feel it, but you don't really feel it.
I watched plenty of students taking rounds and not even realize they're getting hit.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the AIs got in the finger or the knuckle even. I got shot, in my finger area here. One of the other guys that I train with in the forehead even. And, and that's happened to him multiple times, which is kind of think he needs to protect his head a little more. But it teaches you, oh, shoot, I shouldn't have done that. And in a safe environment. And sure, you get the bruises and stuff, but it all heals. It doesn't hurt forever. But it's better to get shot by a UTM than a regular round, in my opinion.
And then hopefully by the next class you go to, you get hit less because your tactics are better.
Yep, I actually I took photos of, because I got lit up here, I got here, both arms. So I took a bunch of photos. So next time, or at level 2, I'm going to take comparison. Did I get shot in those areas? Am I doing better? So that was kind of funny. My wife's like, you paid to get shot at? I'm like, yeah, I get paid to get shot at. It's great. Sign me up again. So
yeah.
Why don't you briefly talk about what's coming up? I know you have a couple more tier 1 classes coming up, interior conflict, and then you have, I believe it was April, that we have the second interior conflict program, I believe is what it is. So why don't you kind of, because I'll be sending this out so people know kind of what's coming up at MTAC for the Tier 1 program, and when of those other rifle and pistol classes do you think are going to be out there as well?
All right, I like it. Go for it.
No, yeah, that's kind of my thing. Let me pull up the schedule real quick. But yeah, in February 25th and 26th. So those folks that work on the weekends, kind of like we do here, and but they want to jump in a weekday class. February 25th, 26th, our next installment of IC1, the Interior Conflict 1. It's got 4 spots left.
4 spots.
Only 4 spots left, and then the next weekend one will be March 20th and 21st, and it's starting to fill up now. And like you mentioned, April, what is it? I think 20. Let me look real quick. The 22nd and 23rd are going to be IC2. So that's a Thursday, Friday. And then that weekend, we start our first tactical pistol course. TAC P1 is what we're going to call it. And we're going to roll right out to the live range. What's beautiful about it is we've partnered with Pine Valley Munitions, and they're going to be supplying all the ammo during the classes. So you may see a more elevated class fee than normal, but it'll include all the ammo needed for the weekend, which is right now a beautiful thing. And that's one of the things that people should take advantage of right now in any shoot house environment. Anytime you can go out and use UTM, right now, you don't have to expend any of that precious ammo at home and get out and get your skills done with that. Some other things we've got going on. We do a law enforcement closed enrollment one for this, and it's called Patrol Performance Course. It's catered more towards the single officer clearing of buildings, and then 2-man or 2 officer clearings. We've got that. We also do our medical portion, and so we have those coming up in March. We'll start with an AED CPR course, which is the Heart Saver certification. But we call ours more than a Band-Aid, and that is basically the trauma care, the tourniquets, chest seals, compression, training. And we do that in 3 different iterations. Of course, we don't just do one around here, but we have the basic knowledge course, and then the next one is under stress, and we start bringing in some live tissue, not live, I guess it's dead tissue, but it's tissue work. And then part 3 is actually a force on force class where you're applying your knowledge in trauma care after you finish a fight, and you can complete those. So those are coming up in March, and March and May for those. And then we got a lot of guest instructors. That's one of the best things about MTAC is we bring in people from all over the country they bring their specialties here. And, that's how we met you. Matter of fact, is coming in with defensive elements came in, and that's their new name. And we're really excited for them. They're going to be great. But yeah, that's what we've got coming up, and then a slew of other things. I know April, we get to welcome MDFI back, and anybody who wants to really get into some neat classes with Trek and the gang, they bring in a Beyond a Door and Human Element. Human Element's just another one of those great, classes where it's just all reality-based training, and it's scenario after scenario, and you get a lot of reps in. So good stuff.
Yeah, you guys will definitely be seeing me a lot over at MTAC. It's almost like I'm going to have to buy a house down there to stay at. But, it's all the different, like you said, reality-based, your guys' training. I mean, there's multiple ways of doing stuff, right? And there's multiple ways of teaching it. And, you have to expand your horizon, and I've gone to a lot at Front Sight in Illinois, going to you guys now, defensive elements, as they're calling now. So again, just trying to MDFI, I want to go to one of their classes and just absorb all of this stuff and just get better. And that's ultimately what it's about. And I think more and more people out there and that's why I'm doing this, just need to be exposed to this type of training that's out there. I'm in Wisconsin here, and there's tons of guns here, and there's zero training like this. All of our training is flat range training, which is very frustrating. Just even the reality-based training. We have concealed carry here in Wisconsin, but when I took that first reality-based force on force training back in December, I mean, there was a moment where I'm like, why am I carrying a gun? And then you work through it, and that's, I'm like, God, everybody who carries a gun needs to do classes like this. Anybody who uses a pistol, I mean, there was Pistolero there in our class for tier one.
Yeah, got him.
He ran the whole class with a SIG.
Hardcore, man.
I mean, he paid for it too.
All power to him, and using weapons. I use an AR-15 for my home defense weapon. He, uses his pistol, and you have to know how to use it. Sitting at a flat range under no duress is nothing. I mean, my 5-year-old can shoot a 22. It's, can you put these skills to work when you need to, when your life depends on it, or your family's life depends on it, or your wife, whoever. So I think people need to be really exposed to this. I've been really touting out MTAC and all the other guys to all my buddies. And I'm hoping doing these ACRs with companies like yours and others will start to expose people more to this training that should be out there and be done. Eventually, Eric, I want you to get one in like the Milwaukee area of Wisconsin, and I love going to Indiana. It's a little bit of a drive. So, well, again, I didn't want to take too much of your time up, and I know I don't want to spoil it for people who are taking, who will be taking your class with the different scenarios and stuff. I mean, mainly, it's teaching you how to do stuff. We did, as you said, Luke, we did 4-man, 2-man, 1-man type stuff. You get to learn how to what I would consider more like the basics and going down, like you said, the hallways and into rooms, but without getting too much into it. I mean, people really need to dive into this and just embrace it and get better. And, I looking at my schedule, I know in April there's a lot going on at MTAC. Like you said, MDFI is going to be there. Defensive elements are going to be there. It's also trying to get my wife good with me leaving the house on the weekends all the time, but definitely be hitting up the second and then the other ones. And that's kind of the other thing I want to touch on. Lastly, is we were talking and the camera might have been cutting out, so I apologize if we're going to redo this, but the tier 1 program, there's multiple levels, and we talked about you're, in a sense, ranking up as you do different levels. And as you kind of talk about that, and again, I apologize if you're doing it, do it again, but what that means and what that opens up as you talked about different opportunities and things. So if you could just kind of tie this all together, tier 1 at the end here, what that all entails.
Not you.
All right, here we go. So every phase, so tier 1, it's a training series. So understanding that we've got interior conflict going right now, like we talked about, because of wintertime. So it's 6 training days with an added on day 7 and 8. We're not calling it IC4. It's going to be something completely different from what we initially planned it to be, based on people traveling, allotted times, things like that. We want to maximize their time. One of the key things we're really trying to do here is maximize what people get out of this and feel that every penny they spent was worth every second they spent in this house getting trained. Because one, it's not going to be easy. You learn that from day one, right? It wasn't like, hey, show up here, have a cup of coffee, and I'm going to talk to you for 2 hours on this PowerPoint, and then we're going to go walk through some stuff. It's not going to be like that. You're going to do your learning out there with application, and we'll learn through all those steps. So without digressing too much, whole series is set up to where we build fundamentals with pistols, we build fundamentals with rifles, we combine them. We get interior conflict done, we get the housework done, all of those things. And then we get into mission sets, planning, leadership courses, all sorts of aspects that people just don't even realize go into everything cool they see on TV that these guys do, don't realize that literally weeks of planning goes into. Right? So we're going to open people's eyes to the complexity of all of these operations, and we're going to have several culminating exercises where they will apply everything they've learned. So not only throughout the series do you rank up, let's call it rank up. You're going to earn ranks. You're going to have your patch. You're going to have your identifiers. People are going to know where you're at in this course, in this series. They're going to know what level you're at by looking at the patch on your shoulder, saying, okay, this guy's been training. I can actually talk to him, and actually it opens corridors for students to learn from students. We develop leaders throughout this course. You know what I'm saying? Like a guy who's essentially what you would call a master sergeant in the Tier 1 series could see a fresh patcher come through and have all sorts of wisdom to share with them. So we're going to create an environment where not only is everybody a student, but we're going to have leaders within those ranks of those students. And that way they have something to work towards. They have people they can relate to. Relationships can be built, things like that. It's overall, the idea behind this thing is creating leaders within our civilian population and boosting confidence in people to successfully survive complex situations through reality-based training. The rank thing is a byproduct, and it's just a way to give people an idea of what they're striving for, if that makes sense, if I'm articulating it correctly. Like I see these patches, I see these things. And with it comes training opportunities that won't be discussed until later dates, because there will be specialized events for people of either certain ranks or, as you saw, a black patch, wink, wink, right? So there's going to be certain things that people get to do based on their achievements throughout these courses. So it's just a way of building leaders within our ranks as a community.
It's also a way, Nick, real quick, is to, everybody likes to have a little recognition, a little reward. And so it comes from my side of the house. His side of the house is I'm developing leaders. If this is something like, there's so many people out there that feel like they missed their calling. Whatever happened, they had a baby in high school. They, got a scholarship to go to college, but always wanted to do something like this. I want to tap into that and say, hey, we're your home. Come here and do this. Enjoy it. The rank thing is fun. We're excited about that. And there's patches equated with every milestone you meet in this Tier 1 series. And that creates a community within itself. And that way our alumni can now relate to each other in a whole new level. And like he alluded to, there's class patches and there's special patches out there that people get earned. And I think that just drives people, whatever it takes to help motivate people, motivate themselves. I'm sorry. We're trying to provide that to them.
Yeah, that's one of the things, and that's awesome, getting those leaderships, building those skills. I've gone to another training company out in Illinois throughout the whole summer. I probably went to 12 or 15 of them, and a lot of ex-military guys and stuff like that. And I've always said, I kind of miss not doing that. I kind of regret not going that route just because I see the camaraderie, the band of brotherhood type of thing, and they'll start talking their military jargon, as you have too, Eric, when we're talking. And it's kind of like, I just feel like, oh yeah, I'm a little civilian here, but, building those relationships with those guys, it's just brought you into, kind of a subsect of the brotherhood, if you will, and creating a family and getting better, so I get that enjoyment out of it, and I'm just flooding it. And, guys come to me and, about the different gear too that I'm using. So it's kind of cool just to even talk to other, I'm not nearly proficient in a lot of stuff, but there's certain things that I've kind of have gone through myself this past year, and I can talk about that, which is kind of cool, and just help other guys out, and that's one of the reasons why, again, that I'm doing this is to try to get other people exposed to this and help them out. Cause I think this is fantastic what you guys are doing and other training companies are doing, and to get this out there for everybody. So that being said, again, thank you guys for joining me here. I know we had a little bit of the buzzy video, but the last part here looked like
that would be your first.
Hey, it is the first. We popped the cherry. So
That's
it's
right.
not-
We brought
the
Uncle
greatest.
Murphy with us.
Yeah.
But again, MTAC, Muncie, Indiana. If you want to give them quick the website address, the phone number, I'll be posting that with this video everywhere. But if you want to give that information quick, Eric.
Absolutely. Take a look at us on socials at MTAC Training. And then, of course, our website is mtactraining.com. And you can always get a hold of us at 765-505-MTAC.
Awesome. And check out the Instagram. Myself and Heath are on there on one of the videos.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, look at that sexy guy going down that four-way. But again, thanks, guys, for everything. And we'll see you later.
All right.
Sounds
Appreciate
good.
you. See you in
Take care.
April.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.